Hello guys, my name is Lars Stender. I'm a writer from Denmark who specializes in science fiction and fantasy. I'm here today to read from my book, Madigo and the Hounds. It's a fantasy story and I'll be reading chapter 35. If you want to know more about my work and previous books, you are welcome to follow the link at the bottom of the screen or on my Twitch account. The day of Helena's, Casper's and Jasper's punishment arrived. It was a clear summer day, with a light breeze coming from the northwest. Madigo shuddered slightly in his new frock and gazed gloomily down at the big inner courtyard of Bloodstone from his spot by the big windows in Mortero's library. In honor of the occasion, Parso had opened the windows, allowing everyone to follow the events that were about to take place down in the courtyard completely unhindered. A big scaffold had been raised with 2 thick columns and 3 pillories. Each of the columns had been hung with a pair of chains and handcuffs. Madigo's stomach turned when he caught sight of the chains. The rest of the school pupils, big as well as small, had been shepherded out to the inner courtyard and positioned in the first row so that they could probably observe the punishment of their friends. At the periphery of the courtyards and on the curtain wall and towers, the Dracoids stood together with the fortress's other residents. Madigo caught sight of Grimwald down in a group with the wizard apprentices and got a shock. The fair-haired prospect scowled up at Madigo with a gaze of such hatred and intensity that Madigo felt as though 2 burning arrows were piercing him. He instinctively drew back a step, but was stopped by something that moved behind him. "Just you remain standing there, dear nephew," Mortero said as he placed a heavy hand on Madigo's shoulder. "This will be a good lesson for you." Madigo cringed. He was starting to get the taste of bile in his mouth. He had been unable to eat anything that morning at the thought of what was going to happen later that day. Mortero was not alone. The other teachers were with him and positioned themselves behind and next to Mortero and Madigo. Madigo could not escape. A slight murmur among the spectators could be heard before Mortero stepped forward. It faded slowly away, and everyone's eyes were directed at the master of Bloodstone. "Bring out the sinners," he loudly commanded to the guards commandant. The Dracoid officers saluted properly, as was typical for his kind, and waved at some of his men who were standing at the main stairway of the keep. They grunted a few commands in their guttural language to some comrades in arms who were standing in the archway itself. The gate opened, and out came Helena, Casper, and Jasper, escorted by Parso and 4 Dracoids. At that same moment, a cloud passed in front of the sun. Madigo looked up. The flock of Sulaks, now bigger than ever before, covered the sky. The sound of their infernal screams echoed between the clammy walls of Bloodstone and felt like small chisels chipping away at his brain and bones. Mortero made a sweeping movement up towards the sky with his arms, and the Sulaks dispersed and formed a circle instead that began circling the fortress in ceaseless motion. In the meantime, Madigo's 3 friends had been led to the scaffold. They were all 3 wearing white undertunics. Helena and Jasper were able to walk without help, but Casper needed to be helped by Parso. The sight made a tremendous shiver run through Madigo's spine. Casper's wounds were still not fully healed, and yet Mortero insisted that he go through with receiving his punishment. Mortero was apparently able to sense Madigo's anger, because he tightened his grip on Madigo's shoulder until his fingers dug as deeply into Madigo's flesh as if they had been scorching hot pokers. "My friends, colleagues, students, and everyone else who lives and works here at Bloodstone. For many of you, this is your home, and just like in any other home, there are rules that must be adhered to if we are to live together harmoniously. These 3 young people you see before you broke one of my rules, and I think you were all well aware of what happened. Magic is not a toy that you can just access and use as you like. Something with these 3 had forgotten. Or rather, they chose to forget my rules and warning. Now, they are going to have to pay a price. There are rules in magic, just as there are rules here at Bloodstone. For what is allowed and what is not allowed. We can't just all do exactly as we please, or everything will fall apart. Your home would dissolve, and all learning would be useless. And learning demands effort and discipline. I have been very proud to have precisely these 3 young people standing before you as my pupils. They have put in a lot of effort and trained hard in order to become magicians. So my disappointment is all the greater now that they have demonstrated such a poor sense of discipline as they have done in this case. It pains my heart to have to punish them. But I have no choice. They put all discipline aside and disregarded my rules, the consequences of which were practically overwhelming. I cannot and I will not accept that sort of behavior. Let this serve as a warning to anyone who has considered putting our sense of security here at Bloodstone at risk. Executioner, do your duty. The executioner stepped forward. He was a massive man whose body was like a wine barrel and whose arms were like tree trunks. He was wearing a black hood on his head, which Madigo thought was ridiculous. Everyone was well aware of who he was. On a daily basis, he was a charcoal burner in Group Forest, a village 5 miles south of Bloodstone. Ridiculous or not, the executioner grabbed hold of Jasper and locked him in the pillory on the one side of the scaffold. Helena was placed in the middle, whereas Casper was put in the last pillory. That pillory had been positioned lower than the others so that Casper, out of consideration for his bad legs, could rest on his knees while he was locked in the pillory. At the very last moment, Parso apparently felt sorry for him and laid a rolled up bag as a pillow under Casper's knees. What about Madigo? He broke into the crypt too. Why isn't he getting punished? Grimwald suddenly shouted and pointed excitedly up towards Madigo. Several of the wizard apprentices mumbled in agreement. Silence! Montero ordered with a booming voice as he stared coldly down at Grimwald. Who reigns here, Bloodstone boy? Grimwald blinked. You do, master, he murmured, showing signs of insecurity. Louder! I can't hear you. Who is your lord and master? Grimwald bit his lips uneasily. The close cluster of friends who had surrounded him a moment ago began to disintegrate. You are my lord and master, Lord Bateri, he said loudly. Montero nodded, satisfied. Good. I see and hear that you still remember the first rule here at Bloodstone. Candidate Grimwald. Make sure that you never forget it, or you may be the next one to climb the scaffold. And as far as Madigo here is concerned, don't worry. He'll be done for soon enough. A cold smile spread across Grimwald's face. Executioner, continue, Montero ordered. The executioner nodded and took out his first instrument, a pair of scissors. With it, he began to cut off all Jasper's, Casper's, and Helena's hair, with quick, efficient, but abrupt movements. Soon all of the hair of the 3 young apprentices were lay in a heap by their feet, to be blown away by the wind. The Dracoids and some of the servants started to laugh and jeer. Helena sobbed quietly. Madigo could feel tears burning at the corner of his eyes, and had to bite his lip to hold them back. The next phase in the punishment was, however, much worse. The executioner grabbed a cat of 9 tails, and a rush of excitement and anxious anticipation ran through the crowd. With help from some Dracoids, the executioner first loosened Jasper and then Helena from their pillories, and then he chained them to the 2 posts that had been positioned on the scaffold behind the pillories. He let Casper remain where he was. With a quick pull from his gloved hand, he tore Jasper's and Helena's tunics to pieces, so that their bare backs were completely exposed. The executioner plodded back and forth a few times as though he were attempting to build up a scary mood before finally positioning himself behind Jasper, grabbing the hand of cat on 9 tails and lifting his arm. He flicked the letters a few times, and each snap made Jasper and Helena jerk, and the spectators gasp. Then the first blow fell, and together with the sound of torn flesh came a pent-up grunt of pain from Jasper. With his arms he gripped the pole he was chained to with desperation, and his fat body denoted arched in towards the pole in a useless attempt to get further away from the whip. Then fell the next blow, and Jasper's grunt of pain became a desperate scream, which later turned into howls as the blows traced a web of bloody stripes across his back. Jasper received 6 blows all in all. By the time of the last blow, he had collapsed, hanging in his chains, semi-conscious. Then it was Helena's turn. When the executioner approached her, a wet pool appeared between her bare feet, and she was now weeping openly.
That was nice. Always good, sweet punishment. Do you think they want to go against its rules again?
Who knows?
You do. You do.
I think they'll think twice.
Yeah. So that is...
Damn, he's authoritarian, isn't he?
Maybe the other guy shouldn't speak up too loudly. At least he wanted that too. Yeah, no thanks. So, we have a little bit of text here.
Yep.
It's a reflection on me, he said, before we got too much into it.
Yes.
I would have cried out loud. Your reading and presentation is good. Obviously, some can make better. Do not change or make other way. You did 100%.
Thank you very much.
And I will say, I got definitely swallowed into the whole courtyard seeing this and did not feel well about their backs. It's really good old-fashioned beating.
Yeah.
But they probably won't forget.
They probably
And
won't.
They needed to get the hair off so they are like slaves.
Yeah.
And then beaten.
There is a message being delivered here, and it is being delivered with a heavy hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but at least I didn't lose any limbs this time.
This time.
Oh, damn, man.
Though Casper came close.
Yeah.